it was the return of the phrase, knock your dick into the dirt. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Chase and today we are reviewing AEW Dynamite from February the 15th. It hailed from Laredo, Texas, and it featured a Texas Tornado tag match between Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli against Rush and Preston Vance, Mark Briscoe in action, and in the main event, Ruby Soho versus Dr. Britt Baker versus Toni Storm. But before we get to Dynamite, don't forget to give me a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, which are all at Stephanie M. Chase. And if you want to support this channel, you can check out the links to my Patreon and OnlyFans in the description box. And don't forget to subscribe! Yes, please hit that subscribe button. I have some goals I would like to accomplish with subscriber numbers before AEW Revolution, so it would really help me if you subscribe to this channel. And the other thing that would really help is simply
liking this video.
Give it a thumbs up if you're watching. Give it a thumbs up, give it a comment. That really helps me in the algorithm, and my gosh, the algorithm treats me like, I don't know, I must have stolen her boyfriend or something, because it is not kind. But the more you like this video and interact with it, the better it will do. So please do that. That would be a really great help. There's lots of fun stuff in this channel. Go check out me ranking the factions of AEW, my latest interview, which was with Chris Masters. I'll have something regarding WWE Elimination Chamber coming up over the next couple of days, probably like a post show. And there's a video that I'm currently working really hard on that's going to be something different for this channel, maybe more like a video essay type thing, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully that will be coming up in the weekend. And of course, I'll be attending AEW Revolution, so I'm going to have some live content from that as well, so that's something to look forward to. And after you subscribe to my channel, make sure you head on over and subscribe to the PW Torch YouTube channel, because I will now be there twice a week with the All Elite wrap-up, delivering you all the AEW news. So go subscribe to the Torch and go check out my video. My first All Elite wrap-up is up there right now. Now let's get into Dynamite. Now I gotta say, I wasn't very excited about this Dynamite. On paper, it did not look like the strongest show. And we are only there's only two more Dynamites left before AEW Revolution, so worrisome. I will also admit that I did fall asleep during this Dynamite. That's not, a reflection on the show. I just have been dealing with some really bad insomnia over the past couple of weeks, and I'm tending to now try and take my sleep where I get it. So accidentally fell asleep during Dynamite and had to watch the rest this morning. That's actually never happened to me. But yeah, I don't want to say it wasn't a bad show, that's for sure. It didn't have the excitement level that we've seen in recent weeks, and it did feel more of a, like, if you had to miss a show over the last couple of weeks, this was probably the one to miss. But anyway, let's get into the matches. So we opened with an in memoriam graphic for JARRETT, the legendary wrestling promoter and father of Jeff Jarrett. So my condolences to the Jarrett family. But Jeff Jarrett was first out on the show. The commentators explained that he wanted to wrestle to honor his father. So we got the AEW All Atlantic champion, remember that, Orange Cassidy, teaming with the Acclaimed to take on Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, SATNAM, SINGH, and SONJAY DUTT. Now, Max Caster did his usual rap, and if you thought that he was going to give Jeff Jarrett a night off because of his recent family tragedy, you were wrong, because Max Caster did reference Jerry Jarrett in the match. He kind of gave props to him, but called Jeff a Nepo baby. And then he talked about how on Valentine's Day it was a TNA lockdown, so a little dig at Jeff and Karen in there too. Was it in poor taste? I mean, I don't think so. I would say that Jeff was, totally up for this. And Jeff, despite, despite the graphic for his father and commentary explaining what had happened, Jeff very much seemed there to want to go out there and just play his usual heel self. So I don't think there was anything weird or wrong about Max Caster, a babyface referencing Jerry Jarrett and what had happened. So this match was shenanigan heavy shenanigan central, as we tend to usually see in Jeff Jarrett matches, and really kind of acclaimed matches now. Very early on, our new tag team champions, the Guns, came out on the stage. They were watching Jeff beat down Daddy Ass. Not long after that, referee Aubrey was, of course, distracted. She was trying to get Sonjay Dutt into the ring, but Jarrett used the Golden Globes statue that he stole on Daddy Ass, and then Lethal took out Bowens with a lethal combination. And Dutt, he was trying to take out Caster with a pencil, but he ran into an orange punch. The match just totally broke down, and then Sonjay Dutt got hit with the scissor me timbers, and Bowen got the pin. And then the Acclaimed had like a stare down with the Guns post match before scissoring with Daddy Ass and Orange Cassidy. This match was fine. I think it was probably in the opening spot so that Jeff could come out first. So I'm not gonna, complain about it being the opener. But yeah, it was totally fine. I think we got more tag team development later on in the show than anything we saw in this match. We then got a pretty cool video package of Bryan Danielson. He was all bloody from his match last week. He looked pretty scary in a cool way. And he said he's the boogeyman and he's going to get MJF at Revolution. So we'll talk a bit more about the Danielson MJF build later on and when there was more of a full segment. Then we had the Ring of Honor champion Claudio Castagnoli and teaming with Jon Moxley to defeat the team of Rush and Preston Vance. This match was good, though it did kind of get off to a bit of a slow start, but it really picked it up towards the end. I'm really into Rush at the minute. Prior to the match, like Rush and Vance attacked Moxley and Claudio. We went to break. The match began officially when we returned from break. Hangman was watching backstage. Moxley, of course, bled early, but then Preston Vance was like, hold my beer, and then he bled too after Claudio punched him with his fist wrapped in a chain. We got Claudio giving a giant swing to Vance. And then Rush and Claudio had a face-off, and then Jose attacked Claudio with a chair. This led to Wheeler Yuta coming up to beat him up. Rush then, he called for the bullhorn, but Claudio speared him in midair, and then Claudio and Rush spilled outside. Preston Vance tried to hang Moxley with the chain, but Moxley reversed it, and he choked out Preston Vance for the win. And then Hangman was shown being attacked by the Butcher, Blade, and Kip Sabian backstage, and then the Dark Order ran in. So more on Moxley, Hangman, Dark Order, and all of that later to come on the show. But yeah, this match was perfectly fine. Really nothing like too exciting. But I am really enjoying Rush at the moment. He's someone that I'm just really having a lot of fun watching. Okay, we then got a sit-down interview between Jim Ross and Wardlow, and this was very good. We got to see a different side of Wardlow here. Wardlow, of course, had his hair cut off by Samoa Joe, and here he explained what that meant to him. He talked about his father, saying that they hadn't seen each other from when he was 8 until he was a young man, and then they reconnected. But sadly, not long after they reconnected, Wardlow found out his father had stage 4 cancer. He was actually able to see Wardlow wrestle, but he passed away soon after. And he said going through that experience with his father, seeing him lose his hair, made Wardlow grow out his beard and his hair, in his father's memory. And Joe knew this and took it from him. So he added that Joe might have survived every monster, but he won't survive Wardlow. And a TNT Championship match for Revolution was set up between Joe and Wardlow. I do think this was very good character development from Wardlow. Like, we really do have to move Wardlow on, since he did really stall a bit, not down to him, but after he initially won the TNT Championship. So I thought this was good, and it added an extra layer to this feud between Wardlow and Samoa Joe. It wasn't just, he gave the guy a haircut. It is now that he removed something from Wardlow's being that connected him to his father, who has passed away. Then we had Mark Briscoe making his return to Dynamite, taking on Josh Woods. Now, I will note that after the show, Tony Khan announced that Mark Briscoe is all elite. So congratulations to Mark. I'm really happy to see him as a full-time part of AEW, and it was great to see him back on Dynamite. This match was fine. I just do wish that Mark had a different opponent. Josh Woods just isn't exciting for me at all. And of course, he comes with Mark Sterling, Daivari, and Toni Nese. It's just a no for me. Early on, Sterling took out the referee, and then Nese and Daivari were attacking Briscoe, and then the Lucha Brothers reappeared. Yeah, randomly, this is where they chose to bring back the Lucha Brothers. So they helped Mark Briscoe and got rid of Daivari and Toni Nese. So, okay. So at the end, Mark Briscoe hit a Razor's Edge that got a 2. He missed a J Driller. Woods then hit the Pure Chaos for 2, but they then traded strikes until Briscoe hit a rolling DDT, and then he pointed to the sky and hit with a Froggy Bow for the win. And there was a nice moment afterwards where he got to talk into the camera and remember Jay as well. So yeah, great to see Mark Briscoe back. Have no idea why they chose this part to re-debut the Lucha Bros. And I just have no like feelings towards Mark Sterling and the people connected to him at this point. Next, we had a sit down between Renee Paquette and Adam Cole. This was fine. It had a bit of a like weird tone, the way they were talking. Adam couldn't be happier to be back on the road. He's discouraged he's not in the ring, but he appreciates mini victories. He has a few ideas on who he wants to face, but he'll keep that for himself. So I guess this was just a way of reminding us that Adam Cole is back. You know, he had that really great return a couple of weeks ago, and then everything has just kind of stalled because I don't know if he's not ready to get in the ring. They just don't want to, or they just don't want to tell us who he's facing at Revolution, if he is facing anyone at Revolution. So nice to see Adam Cole, but overall, I just thought this was a pretty pointless segment. Then we had MJF, who started his entrance before commercial, and then they went to commercial. And if you weren't watching on Fight TV, then you missed out the highlight of the whole show. While the Americans were seeing this in picture, us over here in the UK and other parts of the rest of the world got to hear MJF talk. He first interacted with the crowd at ringside, just doing his usual heel stuff. Then he took the microphone and said, "We're not even on TV yet. Boo all you want. I don't give a fuck. If you don't like my language, what's the matter? Maybe there's some kids in the crowd. If we weren't in Texas, they would have been aborted like they should have been." So great little moment there, almost like a little, Easter egg for people not watching on TBS. MJF managing to be a heel, yet call out laws in Texas. So very cool. Okay, then we got into his actual promo when the commercial was over. He said it wasn't long ago that the fans were cheering for him and they were devil worshippers, but then they turned his back on him. And then he brought out someone from Bryan Danielson's past, and it was Christopher Daniels, the fallen angel. So Christopher Daniels, I guess, was going to talk on MJF's behalf, but when he took the microphone, he said that MJF had paid him an obscene amount of money to disparage Bryan Danielson. But the truth is, Danielson is set to knock MJF's dick into the dirt. So it was the return of the phrase, knock your dick into the dirt. So welcome back. He then went on to talk about how like the great matches that people were like Danielson were having at like the King of the Indies tournament inspired the actual creation of Ring of Honor. He called MJF a fraud. Then MJF smacked the microphone out of his hand. Dan slapped MJF in the face. Then MJF did a low blow, applied the salt of the earth, and then Bryan Danielson ran into the ring and MJF ran away. So how are they doing with the build to MJF Danielson? I'm still think it's okay. I can see what they were trying to do here, add a little extra layer by kind of talking about Danielson as like this great wrestler that kind of started like an indie boom, like things like that, giving more context of who Danielson is, maybe contrasting him, as such a hard worker to MJF, who barely ever wrestles on TV and made an appearance on Dynamite because he's contractually obliged to. That's how it was advertised. But I still need something more from Danielson that makes me believe he wants to actually be world champion, take that belt from MJF. As I said last week, they are going into an Iron Man match and they need to keep people's attention for 60 minutes. And I think the in-ring action is going to be amazing, but I think I need more story coming from this. So I thought it was an unusual choice, this use of Christopher Daniels, but I don't think it was bad or anything, but I do still need more. Okay, then we had Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeating Brian Cage. This was our picture-in-picture match of the night. Perry hit a crucifix bomb and a thrust kick and a roll up for the win as he was backing up the ramp. Then we got the return of Christian Cage, no relation to Brian. His arm is still in a sling. Perry charged at him but was apparently maced in the face because the commentators were like, that smells like mace. Then Christian took off the sling and he hit the kill switch on the ramp and said he wasn't done with Perry. Okay, so here's what's going on with the Tag Team Championship. We were informed by Renee that the Guns will defend their titles against 2 teams at Revolution. The first will be the winners of a traditional Tag Team Battle Royal that will take place next week. And then the following week, a Casino Battle Royal will determine the 3rd team. And then the Acclaimed turned up and said that they want to enact their rematch clause for this match to make it a 4-way. So yeah, the next 2 weeks are going to determine 2 of the teams in this 4-way, and then we have the Acclaimed and the Guns. So I was thinking before this happened that we were just going to the Acclaimed and the Guns at Revolution, and I thought there was something kind of cheap about that. Like maybe they were just trying to recapture like the great moment when the Acclaimed won the titles and the great match like that they had in Chicago. And yeah, I just thought that was okay, been there, done that. So all I can predict for this match as it stands is that the winners will not be the Acclaimed or the Guns. I think it's going to be someone else. Maybe, hopefully, FTR can finally make their return and we can finally get the FTR Tag Team Championship run that we've all been wanting, but I'm not sure how likely that one is to happen. Okay, next up, the Elite, Don Callis and Michael Nakazawa were there, and they were talking about basketball, which I'm told is a sport, and there's an all-star weekend coming up, so they were promoting that. Then AR Fox and Top Flight turn up. They want to run it back on Rampage because of the trios match they had last week. Don Callis said no. Dante said, you guys don't have balls, and of course the Elite can't resist ball-based humor, so Omega had to accept this. And then Brandon Cutler was hitting the balls with a basketball. But yeah, this was just absolute nonsense. I don't want to harp on about this too much, but it is crazy what the Elite and Young Bucks are basically like allowed to do every week, being stuck in this trios division instead of Kenny doing singles matches, being in great stories, elevating guys, putting on bangers like he did at Wrestle Kingdom with Ospreay, and instead of the Young Bucks, building a really great tag division and taking on and elevating lots of young teams like the Guns, like the Acclaimed. Instead, they are in this trios like nonsense, and it's nonsense because when you put these guys together, they just delve as far into nonsense as possible. Honestly, I just think it's a bad use of them. Anyway, during this, we had a House of Black graphic like come up on the screen like Bray Wyatt style, which was very odd, but I guess the House of Black are probably going to be the next big Trios Championship contenders, and you know what? Why not? Okay, we then got a quick match between Hangman Page and Kip Sabian. Hangman Page won, of course. Commentary did question how healthy he might be following the attack earlier tonight. Page got the dead eye for the win. That was really it. It was all about the post-match. We had John Moxley coming out with Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Moxley said that he thinks there's unfinished business between him and Page. Moxley beat him 2 weeks ago, but he has respect for Page. And there's no chance Page will beat him again. Page said that he doesn't think Moxley is satisfied with how it ended because it ended with a roll-up and it should end with only one of them left standing. And then Moxley said that Hangman Page doesn't have any friends, which is a very odd comment because Hangman Page's whole story in AEW has been about friends. It's been about friendship. It's been thank you for being a friend, whether it's the Elite, and Kenny and the problems he had there that were all about friendship, or the Dark Order who have been his friends for ages. Their whole gimmick is now being friends with Hangman Page. So then, of course, out come Hangman's friends. Evil Uno said that Hangman had previously not wanted them to get involved. That's why they weren't seen before that. And then he basically challenged Jon Moxley to a match, but Moxley accepted but totally looked past Uno and said that he would have a Texas death match with Page at Revolution. This segment was okay. I'm always so torn between whether or not I think Hangman should just totally disassociate from the Dark Order or not. I really can't decide how I feel about that. But I think that of all the matches at Revolution, Hangman and Moxley at this moment in time is the one that I'm most excited for. Okay, then we had Tony Schiavone backstage with Chris Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society. I was very distracted here by a huge sticker that Jericho had on his jacket. I think it was from the Rolling Stone, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, they just talked about the Ricky Starks, said that Ricky wouldn't be getting a rematch, and then Daniel Garcia said that he's fighting Starks on Rampage and he's going to expose him as a fraud. This, we're 2 weeks away from Revolution. I guess we're getting Starks and Jericho at Revolution, and I would have given Ricky Starks a promo here in front of the crowd. Starks got so much great momentum after Full Gear. And I do feel that when we saw him in the Gauntlet last week, it felt like that momentum had been lost a little bit, with the crowd. So I think that after what happened to him, them being in Texas too, would have been a perfect opportunity to have Ricky back out there in front of the crowd and getting some crowd support. They could have done a little segment where he talked about, the JAS just being cheaters and whatever, and then Jericho could have come out and interrupted him. I just thought we're so close to the pay-per-view. This is not how I would have used my time. I mean, Jericho was flown in for this Dynamite. Well, I guess, he does commentary on Rampage. Ricky Starks was flown in because he has a match on Rampage. They're both there. I would have used them instead of doing this backstage segment. Speaking of backstage stuff, they replayed that thing that I hated last week with Hook and Stokely Hathaway. Then we cut to Stokely now with Matt Hardy, Ethan Page, Isaiah Cassidy. Stokely looked awesome. He looked so cool. Stokely is great with the references, with whether it's him talking or how he presents himself visually. He's very cool and very aware. Matt Hardy, on the other hand, worst shirt I have seen in a long time, and it didn't help that he was next to Shirt King Ethan Page. Anyway, Hook's been suspended. Taz wasn't pleased. I'm not pleased. This is all a bit silly. Okay, then it was main event time. Ruby Soho versus Toni Storm versus Dr. Britt Baker. Now, some of you might want to turn off at this point to hear me discuss this one. Great that the women were in the main event. I will say that it is always great to see the women in the main event. That is kind of where my praise is going to end. So I'm just giving praise for them being put in this spot. There's so much to unpack here. So we had Saraya and Toni Storm entering with their spray paint. They attacked a fan at ringside. Obviously a plant, not a real fan. But they just attacked this woman who was holding a Britt Baker sign because they're bad girls. Security didn't care. Ruby didn't even seem to care when she entered next. The whole match was pretty clunky. It was full of shenanigans, complete shenanigans, including some of the worst shenanigans that I've seen in a while. Some stuff that happened Britt Baker, she went for a lockjaw. Saraya broke it up. There was nothing that could be done because it was a triple threat. Toni Storm gave Jamie Hayter, who was there with Britt, a swinging DDT on the ring apron. Then Saraya spray painted an L on Toni Storm's butt in order for Toni Storm to give a hip attack to Britt Baker and imprint the paint on her face. This is all so childish and juvenile. It really is. Like, this is like the Mean Girls NWO crossover that no one asked for. Seriously. So, in the end, Ruby threw Storm out of the ring into Saraya. Ruby rolled up Britt Baker and she won. Then they did so they're trying to show that Ruby's caught in the middle, like she's torn. So she was literally in the middle between Toni and Saraya and Britt and Jamie, and like screamed enough. And then Excalibur was saying, oh, she's been pulled in many directions. It's all really complex. It's so childish. It's so childish. And it's such a bad use of some great talents in there, particularly Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. So it looks like Ruby Soho might want Jamie Hayter's belt. So maybe it's going to be Ruby versus Jamie Hayter at Revolution, but who can possibly tell? Because instead of building a strong women's singles feud, we're having to watch this nonsense with Saraya and her spray paint. And also, Ruby, why can't you decide what side you're on? I mean, if you're a babyface, you obviously have to be against Saraya and Toni Storm. You literally just saw them beat up a fan at ringside. This is not a hard choice. At least it shouldn't be. Whereas Karashida, my brain hurts from all of this. It is so messy. It is messier than your face after someone with spray paint on their butt has just sat on it. It's messy. I'm sorry. I'm not into this at all. It feels like, look, there's always been criticisms of the AEW women's division, and I've always supported the AEW women's division. I think it's improved tremendously. I think that people forget that there wasn't a female Chris Jericho when AEW started. You know, the men's division, you had Chris Jericho, you had Kenny Omega, you had the Young Bucks. Then you got Jon Moxley pretty soon after. The women's division had to build itself from the ground up. And it was incredible what they did with Britt Baker, and it's incredible what Britt Baker has done. And when the rise of Jamie Hayter happened, I thought we were finally getting to a really good point, because you had Britt Baker, who was a huge star, and you had Jamie Hayter on the cusp of that, who would be another homegrown talent. And then you have all the stuff with Jade Cargill on the TBS championship side, which is all really great. Then Toni thought Saraya is a name, people know her from WWE, let's bring her in, and things have just gone downhill since then. And now we are here with, like, there was such an obvious great path of story that you could have told between Jamie and Britt that's not being done because of this. Toni Storm worked so hard when she was women's champion, interim women's champion, and now, you know, she's stuck in this thing. I don't know. I don't like it at all. I really don't. If they're heading, like, some people have said, oh, but it's going to head to Blood and Guts. Don't care. It still doesn't make any of this good. It still doesn't make any of this good. I don't want, you know, a Blood and Guts or a main event or whatever if the story isn't good. It's just so silly. It's like, we're Mean Girls, we're going to run about and get people with spray paint because we're outsiders. Like the NWO were outsiders, and the NWO used to do that. I'm telling you, honestly, when I was a child, Hulk Hogan spray painted NWO on Randy Savage's back. And I cried when that happened. I cried. Do you know why I cried? Because I had a really strong investment in Randy Savage and his character. I had a strong dislike for the NWO because of how they were portrayed as heels. Anyway, it all made me feel something. This right here just makes me feel sad and not in a good way. Just like, what is going on here? Like, there are people in this program that deserve so much better. So much better. Particularly Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. Anyway, rant over. But okay, let me reward who I was the biggest fan of this week. I actually don't know who I'm going to give it to this week. You know what? I'm going to give it to Mark Briscoe. Congratulations on being all elite, Mark Briscoe, and I can't wait to see more of you on AEW Dynamite. Okay, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to help me in my quest to get the algorithm to like me by liking this video, maybe even commenting. I mean, if you make it all the way to the end of this video, comment with a little, what emoji? Comment with a lips emoji to let me know that you've watched it all. Of course, go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Nope, not YouTube. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Stephanie M. Chase. Catch me also over on the PW Torch YouTube channel. The link to their channel will be in the description of this video. And yeah, more videos coming up. Elimination Chamber review for sure, that's coming. Hopefully an interview, and another quite different video. And yeah, the build to Revolution on this channel is gonna be strong. That's all from me. I will catch you again next time. Bye.